most historic night as Barack Obama has been returned for a second term as US President.
Yes, indeed. Extraordinary scene.
Shut up, you latte lefty sipping ABC audience.
Typical ABC audience. It's absolutely extraordinary scenes in America tonight as Obama proved why he's the man best placed to reduce America's debt by throwing this modest little celebration.
It's funny. Maxed out the credit card.
Look, in the end, it was a pretty comfortable win for Obama, and there weren't too many people predicting a landslide, although there was one.
Romney will win in a landslide.
Oh, missed it by this much. Oh, not a great result for Dick Morris there, and he's had a bad week because he also predicted that this horse would win the Melbourne Cup.
I had money on that too.
There's no question, though, 4 years on, this was a much tougher campaign for Obama. Last time he famously campaigned on the slogans of hope and change. This time he went with the equally inspiring, well, at least I'm not a Mormon. And look, over there, a hurricane. And once you go black, you never go back.
He's had no shortage of celebrity endorsements as well. In the last week, he's pretty much surrounded himself with every singer on the planet. Bruce Springsteen, Jay-Z, and even, I think, Craig Emerson.
Why I wipe out there on my TV.
That shows you what one voice can do.
But look, let's not forget that Romney had a lot of big stars in his corner too, and, you know, they don't get much bigger or more tuneful than Meatloaf.
That's right, Mitt. If you just smile and keep waving, maybe nobody will notice that out-of-tune walrus beside you. Look, unlike Obama, Romney didn't need to rely on celebrity friends. His endorsements came from people of genuine substance.
This year, Romney all the way. So basically, one, Mitt Romney is super hot. We haven't really had a hot president since, like, Kennedy, but we all know how that ended. So, yeah. And Mitt rhymes with tit. No, I'm just kidding. But I had two of them. But that's really not, no, that's not the reason I'm voting for him.
I think we've just found the new Sarah Palin. Romney, girl with two tits, 2016. Since the Romney defeat, the blame game has already begun. Fox News was quick to point the finger at black people intimidating voters.
Brand new video just in. This is a member of the Black Panthers standing guard outside a polling place in Philadelphia.
And they kept a live camera on this voter intimidation. You can see it here, and oh my God, look at that. He's politely opening the door to intimidate that woman. Oh my God!
Well, it ends.
Oh, recount.
That was this morning. But look, once Fox realised Obama had the election in the bag, I thought they were reasonably gracious in defeat.
Was the mission on the president's team would be to, quote, kill Mitt Romney and to make people believe that he was a vulture, a vampire.
One of the things I've enjoyed all day is watching the US cable coverage, because the technology that they've got is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, I thought they'd peaked back in 2008. Remember the hologram that CNN had? But no, this year, Fox News, well, they took it up a notch. They launched what they call, look at this, whiteboard technology.
Look at that.
Absolutely amazing what they can do.
That looks like a whiteboard.
It's amazing.
And staying back home, the Catholic Church has been dragged into the scandal surrounding the degrading initiation rituals at St John's College at City Uni, which last year nearly killed a girl.
Yes, the Archbishop of Sydney, Archbishop Pell, has intervened, thankfully. He says it's the role of the church, not the college, to abuse young people.
In a bid to contain the damage, the college got one of their students to speak to the media, and her interview had a lot of likes.
On Facebook?
No, the soundbite itself.
I'm a fresher there, and like I've never been intimidated or like forced into drinking anything. As they say, like all the rituals have been ruled out and all that kind of stuff. Like the leaders of this college, like they always sit us down. They're like, you're never forced into anything and all that kind of stuff.
Quite a lot to like there, except for the fact, like, it turned out like she lied about being one of the college freshers and was in fact one of the
the leaders of this college, like
exactly like.
A misleading cover-up. At least they are teaching the church's values there.
True. But of course, all eyes this week were turned to Flemington for the race that stopped the nation. Yes. And once again, Channel 7 had innovative coverage. I was a little bit surprised that they used the director of the Blair Witch Project to film a lot of the race preamble. That was smart.
Yes, the jockey cam. That was a great innovation for giving us a much better sense of what horse nostrils look like.
No, that's just Channel 7. They try to use those bloody jockey cams on all their shows.
Hello and welcome to The Unbelievable Truth, where our guests are Kitty Flanagan and Scott. Will you piss off?
The other great innovation in the coverage this year was having the reporters in the mounting yard, right there alongside the horses. It was just amazing access. Although I did wonder if they were taking things too far when they tried to interview them straight after the race.
For those who missed the big race, it was an absolute beauty, and here's the call of that thrilling finish one more time.
With just 600 to go, it's Glencairn Gold and Green Moon. Damien Oliver looks out of the race on American, but that's okay because his money was on Green Moon anyway. Glencairn Gold and Green Moon neck and neck. Half a link back to, is it Camilla Parker Bowles? No, my mistake, it's Jackleberry. I always get those two confused. As they head for the line, it's Green Moon starting to make its move. Green Moon and Fiorente. Has Green Moon got enough left? We'll find out after these important messages.
I wasn't born to be a footballer.
That's enough of that. What an amazing finish you all just missed. Ruined, like most things in racing, by that fucking Tom Waterhouse ad.
A Chinese stuntman has set a new world record for parallel parking.
The largest ever falafel.
He's got the largest biceps in the world.
The world's smallest living woman.
The world record for the loudest bark by a group of dogs.
It started with Paper Giants on the ABC. Then Channel 9 gave us the story of How's That? A different network, a different packer. And if you thought that was confusing, now 3 more networks are lining up to release packer telemovies of their own. First up is SBS, again with a brand new actor in the pivotal role.
Dennis Dilly is a very good player.
We can't get him, Kerry.
I want Dennis Dilly!
Channel 10's also joined the packer party, and they're adamant that the network's financial woes haven't compromised the integrity of the project.
This is bullshit, Kerry, and you and I both know it.
Even the Discovery Channel wants a slice of the action, casting an actual goanna in the role of Kerry Packer.
Is there a risk of packer saturation? Maybe, but people said the same thing about reality shows and they're still going strong, including that new one, Australia's Next Top Kerry Packer actor.
The organisers of the TV Week Logie Awards this week released a statement which, when translated from the German, says this year's Logies will even feature a separate category for Best Kerry Packer. But the hot favourites are talking down their chances. This is Ryan Signoff for E! News.
Good evening. Making news this hour. In scenes reminiscent of a Hollywood movie, hundreds of Brisbane office workers were forced to evacuate after their building exploded in a ball of flames. Someone who sounds a lot like me has the story. It was like something out of a Steven Spielberg film. Hundreds of terrified workers in a race against time.
I don't know how to describe it. It was like something you see in the movies.
Well, at first I thought it looked like a giant ball of flames, but then I realised it actually looked like a giant ball of flames from the movies.
Eyewitnesses have been divided over which movie their ordeal most resembled.
I thought it was more like Die Hard 1 than Die Hard 2, but my colleague who died in the blaze disagreed. Just as the flames were consuming him, he noted some similarities to 1997's Face Off, starring Nicolas Cage.
But not every eyewitness was equally convinced.
I didn't buy this fire for a second. I thought it was very poorly constructed and had a very weak third act. 2 stars.
Other evacuees said the experience was just like the movies, not only because of the explosion, but also because of the overpriced popcorn being sold as people tried to flee the building.
Popcorn!
Meanwhile, across town, a much smaller blaze generated very little interest from onlookers.
Hardly anyone saw it. No, it was just like an Australian movie.
Kenton Hurd, ABC News.
Okay, folks, welcome to Inside the Wheel, and we have got the ultimate treat lined up for you tonight. We're talking interest rates.
Oh, don't fall asleep. Interest rates are gripping. Look, Sky News even had a countdown to the Reserve Bank announcement yesterday. See, look at that.
Yeah, no, that's not a rates countdown, that's a ratings countdown. It's the number of viewers still watching Sky News as this boring man talks.
Well, nevertheless, we need to cover finance sometimes on this show because God knows finance reports on the news are getting very brief.
We'll have a very quick look at finance, and the All Ords has finished the day's trading down by 9 points. And that is Nine's...
That's almost as comprehensive as Sky News' weather.
Having a look at tomorrow's weather now. Showers in the south of the country. It should be sunny in the east.
And even when a commercial news show does get a finance guy on, they're not always reliable. I mean, this guy struggled to even count.
3 words. Don't sign anything until you're absolutely sure that you can afford it.
What was that about? 3 words. Poor numeracy.
No, but not everyone is bored by finance.
It's always fascinating to see Glenn Stevens speak publicly about where Reserve Bank interest rates are going.
So, fascinating. To put that in context, this is what some people find fascinating.
And this is what Michael Rowland finds fascinating.
The very tightly knit production chain around the Asian region. Those effects are probably still having some impact on the data.
Glenn Stevens isn't even fascinating when he looks like this.
The very tightly knit...
OK, poor old Stevens, he's not a barrel of monkeys, but people do love it when interest rates drop. I mean, look what happened last month.
Workers and bosses alike gathered for the interest rate announcement this afternoon.
Surprise announcement, the Reserve Bank have cut by 0.25%.
Welcome news.
Your own hands, they look in the middle of it. Yeah. They're cock-a-hoop.
Yeah, well, I mean, low interest rates, they're great, aren't they? They went down last month, they stayed down yesterday.
No, hang on, it's not that simple, Andrew. No, that's why we've had to enlist the help of a genius to explain it. See, here's the genius.
Yes, low interest rates are good. It's simple.
Yeah, hang on. Except for when low interest rates are bad.
The reason why interest rates are coming down under Labor is because the economy is not performing as well as is expected.
Oh, OK, so low interest rates are bad news.
We are 1 interest rate cut away from the emergency levels.
Yeah, low interest rates are an emergency. They're really bad news.
Yeah, my God, it is an emergency, isn't it?
Oh, it is. In fact, Lisa McCune is starring in a new Aussie drama based on this very concept.
Freeze! Interest rate!
OK, so the Libs... It's true, it's coming soon. So the Libs have taught us that low interest rates are not just bad, but life-threatening.
You know, there's something not quite right about this. Wasn't there some minor Liberal backbencher who once said something kind of different to that?
Don't risk your low interest rates. Interest rates will always be lower under a coalition government. Always be lower under a coalition government than under a Labor government.
See, no wonder he was voted out. He was advocating a state of emergency.
Right. I think we better adjust our formula. Low interest rates are really, really bad unless you happen to be John Howard, in which case they're good after all.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit confused.
No, don't be confused, because we got Ross Cameron. He's got it all worked out.
What John Howard was saying was that coalitions will always run smaller budget deficits than Labor. That was really the claim he was making.
Oh, OK, so when John Howard had a bloody great big sign saying keep interest rates low, and when he said that same phrase 80 million times, what he really meant was that the coalition would always run smaller budget deficits than Labor.
I think we're going to have to update the equation, Andrew. Yeah. Even under Howard, low rates are bad, but when Howard talked about low rates, he didn't mean low rates, he meant low deficits, and they're good!
Yeah, I can see that. All making sense. So low rates were good news under Howard, but now under Abbott, they're bad news, right?
If the federal government can get its spending down by removing waste and therefore take the pressure off interest rates, your life is better, and that's what I want to do.
Not quite, Andrew. Low interest rates are good news under Tony Abbott, and Tony Abbott will actually stop them being as high as they are under Labor, even though, according to Joe Hockey, Labor's rates are dangerously low, I think.
Look, it's a schmozzle. I don't know. Presumably, when the press pack heard Abbott say that, they were pretty keen to clarify what he meant with some kind of follow-up question.
Oh, yeah, they didn't let us down.
Can you tell us why Downton Abbey is your favourite TV
Not that question, not that, the one after it.
Who's your favourite character?
Not that question, the next one.
The Earl has 3 daughters like...
No! Fine, all right, forget the questions.
No. Although, interestingly, that's one policy that John Howard did disagree with Tony Abbott about.
Very strong on that point.
He was.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Surely someone knows whether it's good news or bad news that the Reserve Bank keeps cutting interest rates.
Well, the Reserve Bank knows, and they released a statement 2 weeks ago saying that interest rates were low to boost confidence rather than because of a downturn. So it's not really that bad news at all, is it?
But how come we barely heard any coverage about that? I mean, okay. Oh, we lost them again. No one likes this finance talk.
Loving the chat about interest rate, guys. Fascinating.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
He likes it, but despite Michael's enthusiasm, it is all a bit boring. But also, there was a lot of big news on the day that statement came out. Big news.
Psy has arrived in Australia.
Everyone is getting ready for Psy.
What do you mean everyone's doing that dance?
OK, so if finance reporters want to get people interested in the Reserve Bank, you know what they're going to have to do.
Reserve Bank Governor Glenn Stevens says they want to look at more information before they move rates again.
Record for making the biggest vanilla slice in history.
Zeus, the world's tallest dog.
The most number of wheelchairs in a moving line.
The most people being massaged at the same time.
As the ABC celebrates its 80th anniversary, the hamster wheel looks back on 100 years of Auntie.
Rounded up to the nearest century.
News and current affairs have always been the backbone of the ABC, but the transition from radio to television wasn't without hiccups.
Good evening. Good evening.
Early chairs for newsreaders were too short. Others were too tall. In the age before the PR industry, news bulletins sometimes proved difficult to fill.
Good evening. Today there is no news, so here instead please enjoy my wife and her xylophone.
In the 1970s, it wasn't unusual for presenters to smoke on air, even on children's shows. The 1980s brought a new wave of technology. Interviews could now be conducted via satellite with extraordinary ease.
Professor Gould, firstly, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Professor, what did you make of the President's announcement today?
Sport has also been an integral part of the ABC. Early broadcasts were transmitted in black and white.
Coming up to the head well.
But with the arrival of colour, sports like lawn bowls really came to life.
Coming up to the head well.
Early success covering the sheepdog trials led to other popular spin-offs, such as the Paralympic sheepdog trials.
This is a remarkable effort in the quadriplegic class. And on paddock 3 meantime, the event for sheepdogs that are both quadriplegic and blind.
And the short-lived panel programme, The Woofie Show.
Tigger, you had an absolute blinder last Saturday. How's the knee holding up?
Commitment to quality that we continue to celebrate on 100 years of Auntie.
A new Guinness World Record for most people wearing the same uniform.
The world's largest and heaviest bike.
The most snails kept on a face.
The most participants in a multi-legged race.
The first ever woman to swim from Europe to Turkey with her hands and feet bound.
Anthony John Abbott, the man most likely to beat Julia Gillard and become Prime Minister, apart from Kevin Rudd, has died after a short illness, after a short soundbite, after a short ultramarathon, after a short interview with Lee Sales.
Like many of his lifelong political opinions, Tony Abbott entered the world in 1957.
It was a very difficult birth. His delivery was drawn out and painful, much like his speeches.
Born in London, Abbott's family fled comfort and lack of persecution in England, coming to Australia on an overcrowded boat. At Sydney's elite Jesuit schools, the young Abbott was imbued with a strong belief in the principle that all people are created equal, that all men are created equal, that all white men are created equal, that all Catholic white men are created equal. As a Rhodes Scholar, Abbott won 2 Oxford Blues for boxing and was known for his intense but unorthodox training regime. In his mid-20s, Abbott studied to become a priest, but he left the seminary after 3 years.
Tony was always uncomfortable about homosexuality, so not entering the priesthood was probably the right call.
As an up-and-coming Liberal MP, Abbott trumpeted his Conservative credentials.
The political love child of John Howard and Bronwyn Bishop.
The claim was later proved wrong when the real love child came forward. When the story of his own illegitimate son was revealed, the nation saw a gentler, more caring side of Tony Abbott.
What do you know, eh?
DNA tests would later reveal Abbott's gentler human side was in fact someone else's.
Mr. Abbott's paternity test came back negative. Relentlessly negative.
Like all politicians, for Tony Abbott, life in the public eye was very costly. For decades, he was stalked by a serial pest whose bizarre obsession seemed to have no sane purpose. In 2009, Abbott became opposition leader and surprised many with his ability to connect with voters. He proved such a success as opposition leader that after the 2010 election, he was given the job again. For a time, it seemed inevitable he would become Prime Minister, but instead of developing policy, Abbott split his time between intense exercise, earning extra cash as a model for workplace safety gear, and scowling at journalists.
You're not saying anything, Tony.
But just when Tony Abbott was poised to take the top job, his life was cut short. His untimely passing has been blamed on a Labor Party dirt unit, blamed on the carbon tax, on women, on testicle asphyxiation. Tony Abbott's death has sparked an outpouring of emotion.
We'll remember the humour, the fun, the friendship and the fascination.
He was incredibly loyal, very, very strong.
He was a very human man.
Truly an intellectual nobody.
And it's like the whole world's caving in.
Unique person. Neither a philosopher nor a general.
This is good news for Sheilas everywhere.
Liberal Party colleagues gathered today to pay homage to their fallen leader by parroting glib, simplistic slogans that glossed over reality. In accordance with his wishes, Tony Abbott was buried and cremated with the Work Choices legislation. The service was followed by a heavy-handed public memorial staged for the media.
A protest world record. Meet the woman who's been living up a tree since Christmas. The number of fish heads served up at a restaurant.
The world's thinnest house.
The largest ever human mattress domino chain.
The amateur thrill seekers won't reveal what record they were trying to break.
Politics. It used to only be on the boring channels, but now everyone wants a piece of it.
Speculation of a shuffle is the talk of Parliament.
Big Brother starts Monday, August 13.
But that's not Gillard, is it? As if the Prime Minister would do a promo for some stupid reality show.
Everyone's talking about 10's new series, Even RPM.
I do know that show's starting.
Bingo, bingo.
8 o'clock, Channel 10.
Gillard stole my voiceover job. Seriously.
But when they're not making ads, politicians can be tedious.
Those increased costs are going to flow through to ratepayers.
But the trouble is, you could just be a voice in the wilderness, Joe. I mean, I'm bored just listening to you talking about this.
Thankfully, the media invented ingenious ways of making political coverage entertaining, like making it punny.
Tony Abbott hosed down hopes of a deal. His next move will be a backflip.
The dragons of the past just keep coming back to haunt Julia Gillard.
Dragons of the past? That's not even a real expression.
It's actually the title of my favourite fantasy novel.
And when Bill Shorten got into a fight over a pie, there was full-scale pandemonium.
Bill Shorten has had to eat humble pie and gets a little crusty.
Fun fight in a pie shop.
His complaint was half-baked.
Mr. Shorten didn't mince his words.
Bakey? Maybe.
His behaviour was a little unsavoury.
His face like a drop pie.
And then the reporter said he had a face like a drop pie. I felt haunted by the dragons of the past.
But some journos enjoy puns a little too much.
We also have the interesting question of Tony Abbott's stool. He says the opposition policy is a three-legged stool.
The one that, one would hope. Yeah, it's completely.
Yes, okay.
It's completely. Why couldn't they just use this?
All right, stool. Yes, we do. Stool. Come on, what are you? 3 years old? Another way to make politics fun is to add some petty gossip.
July.
Ooh, have you heard about Kevin Rudd?
Brace yourself.
Talk of a Kevin Rudd comeback is gaining momentum.
The secret plan to reinstall Kevin Rudd as Prime Minister within months.
August.
Ooh, have you heard about Kevin Rudd?
Kevin Rudd has again stirred leadership tensions.
Claims she could lose the Prime Minister's job within weeks.
September.
Ooh, have you heard about Kevin Rudd?
Kevin Rudd's backers will start agitating later this year, with a view to a pre-Christmas leadership coup.
October.
Ooh, have you heard about Kevin Rudd?
Yes, I did hear about Kevin Rudd. But why don't they cover what the politicians are actually talking about?
Oh, they do. Thorough analysis should take no longer than 15 seconds and should contain no analysis. In politics, the details don't matter. You're either
winning
or...
So when the Houston report on refugees came out, 7 Nightly News only asked one question.
Mark, is this a win for the government or the opposition?
If only everything in life was so simple to analyse.
Is the new McDonald's Lamburger a win for the government or a win for the opposition? Is that sex a win for the government or a win for the opposition? Is your disproportionate laughter a win for the government or a win for the opposition?
Political reporters are a unique breed. They're the only people who feel compelled to say their name before asking a question.
Michelle Grapen from The Age.
Mark Riley from the 7 Network.
And Kate is from ABC News 24.
It's a habit they find hard to shake.
Buongiorno, 10 News. 5 slices of prosciutto, please.
The stories that political reporters like best are the ones that aren't about politics at all.
Julia Gillard has fallen over during her visit to India.
If you thought that was a little shallow, you might prefer the coverage given to Gillard's speech about online safety for children.
She lost a shoe. It came during a speech in Sydney as she walked up the stairs onto the stage.
Still, at least they showed part of the speech.
And even though I've got far more humble heels on.
The part of the speech about shoes.
The media love shoe stories so much they've launched a new politics channel, Shoes 24.
Mr. Shoe, are Kevin Rudd's Crocs a win for the government or a win for the opposition?
But the biggest political story of the year was when... Oi! Hey, up here! God, jeez. But the biggest story was when the woman at the lodge finally lashed out at the system that had been oppressing her for years.
Yes, we of course refer to the maid who put her back out while making the Prime Minister's bed.
Prime Minister, the king-size bed, and the Compo claim, the housekeeper and the mattress scandal. Everyone at the lodge is talking about.
Yes, everyone at the lodge... Yes, everyone at the lodge was talking about it!
See that piece of shit story on ACA?
Oh, that was woeful.
Hi, do you mind? As if anyone would be interested in that story.
Now it's back to you, Carl and Lisa.
Who doesn't want to see that story?
That's right, I'm there.
It's got it all.
Don't worry, there is a way for the media to cover politics with the depth and the complexity they... Oh! Bloody matters.
Hold on, John, 10 News. Is this a win for the government or a win for the opposition?
Still ahead on ABC One, Stephen Fry in America. Then at 10, it's Stephen Fry in a hallway, followed at 10:30 by Stephen Fry fidgets with balls of wool. And then it's Stephen Fry does nothing in particular, but still gets filmed anyway. Think variety, think ABC One.